Good afternoon to you. 506 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up on the program, we're going to be joined by Todd Bensman from the Center for Immigration Studies with an update on what's going on in that investigation into two illegal immigrants who tried to drive their way onto Quantico Marine Corps Base now 2 Fridays ago in a white box truck, were stopped and now in Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody. Again, we'll cover that story. Also, he testified to Congress today about Chinese nationals all pouring into the country. A lot to get to with him. A lot to get to with you as well at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. President Trump once again held up in court today in Manhattan. And according to MSNBC, as he was accompanied by a number of Republican lawmakers, that was designed to intimidate the jury. Take a listen.
In terms of the atmospherics of the room, beyond Blanche, beyond Cohen, Donald Trump walks in with all the normal swagger that Donald Trump always has. You've seen it, and you can imagine it accurately because we all know him so well at this point. He also walks in with quite a big entourage. Today it was Lauren Boebert, it was Matt Gaetz, Boris Epstein is always there. And there was something of a, it felt to me like a mean girl quality to their presence. They walk in stoic, stone-faced, but when they sat down, they looked around the room, they noticed George Conway, they started to snicker, everybody turned and they stared right at George Conway and then whispered among themselves. They did the same thing looking at Michael Cohen. You get the idea that Donald Trump bringing this crowd with him is not just a show of force for the cameras outside, but it's a show of force for the witness inside and potentially even the jury. Can you get under Michael Cohen's skin by not just showing him Donald Trump sitting at the defense stand, but all of his entourage with him, the lawmakers who have yelled at him in Congress, the potential VP candidates, Donald Trump's own family, former colleagues of his, Boris Epstein there, trying to see if anybody could knock him off his game.
Yeah, that's right. They were there to intimidate everybody. And among the heavies that was in that room this morning is my next guest. Congressman Andy Biggs joins us now. Congressman, thanks for joining us. We're a little intimidated by your presence here, so I'll just let you have the floor.
Yeah, Vince, thanks. What a moron. I will just say that reporter is a moron. Look, she didn't bother to tell you that when we went in, the jury wasn't in. The jury wasn't in the box. And we were spread throughout the courtroom because they didn't have enough seats for us in one place. I mean, how idiotic is that? I mean, it's just like none of the jurors know who we are. I mean, that's just so stupid. It's just, and Michael Cohen, trust me, he was going to lie today like he lies every day. I mean, the guy's a sociopathic, almost liar. That's what he appears to be anyway. I should say that. It appears that he's a sociopathic liar. He's certainly a convicted liar. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, good grief.
What was it like, though? Congressman, what was it like, though? And I don't know how long you were in the courtroom or you followed the proceedings. What did you see today?
Well, so we were there a good number of hours. Look, they spent the first significant portion of it. They were doing a sidebar at the bench before the jury even came in. Normally that'd be done, in my opinion, in judicial chambers, but not today. Anyway, you had Michael Cohen on, and he's twisting himself around and like a macaroni, like a pretzel, and he just was not telling the truth. I mean, there's times he would say that, I did this for Trump, and then he would say, well, I did this all for my own personal interest. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just actually, you kind of feel bad for the guy, but for the fact that he's lying. Yeah. And that's, you can't feel bad for somebody who's deliberately lying.
So were you there for? There was a moment. I'm wondering if you were there for it this morning, where he claimed that he has never met Alvin Bragg. He's like, I've never
Yes.
met the guy. And then they played podcast audio for him of him saying the opposite. Here's that audio that was played before the court today. And Congressman Andy Biggs, you heard this as well. Take a listen.
So I want to thank the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and their fearless leader, Alvin Bragg, with whom I spent countless hours laying out how Trump directed those hush money payments and countless other financial crimes.
Okay, so there's Michael Cohen saying, actually, I've spent countless hours with the guy. How did he resolve the fact that he told a different story to the jury?
So it was great because that comes first, right? And then the prosecutor says, but you never did meet with Alvin Bragg, did you? No, I never did. There was no reconciliation. There's no way to reconcile it. It's just you lied.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's it. I just lied. That's all.
So do you get the sense?
Repeatedly, Vince, all kinds of things. Over and over.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Do you get the sense that the jury? Do you get the sense that the jury is left with the impression that this guy is just an unstoppable liar?
Well, if they were a fair jury pool, they would. I don't know. It's hard to read the jury because I couldn't see all the jurors from where I was sitting, and I could see a couple of them. It's hard to say. I think that there's probably some that are all over this and understand pretty clearly that he's a liar. Everybody understands Michael Cohen's a liar. Mm-hmm. Everybody understands that Barbie is a liar. These people, everybody gets it. But the reality is, are they willing to be set aside their political animus that they may hold against Donald Trump to give him a fair trial? And if they do, then they're going to have to say, there's nothing there. First of all, we still don't even know really the substance of the allegation of the charge, the elements of the offense. We still really don't see them checking the boxes saying this is what's going on. What you see is these narrative efforts that they could keep doing. It's an attempt to create narrative, and that's a failing that they have in their case. And not the least of their problems is you can't believe anything their witnesses say. There's no what we would call veracity. What's their reputation for veracity? What is their actual veracity? There is no veracity there. They're dishonest people.
Do you think that this jury is seeing President Trump's remarks each morning and night when they go home? Because they're not sequestered. So I do wonder to what extent they may be absorbing some of the president's commentary on this.
I want to believe that jurors, when they self-sequester, and you can't. This is a world where you can actually avoid the news.
Yeah.
If you don't get on social media and you don't read the New York Times or even the New York Post, you could actually self-sequester and actually follow the judge's admonition. But the judge, it's hard to say that all of them would do that. Yeah. I'm not sure. I believe all of them would do that.
Yeah, I just have to wonder what that all must be like. All right, so lastly, just on this issue, because I do want to get to Merrick Garland. We have some big top conversation to come on that. Why did you go today, Congressman Biggs? What brought you to New York?
Well, so some of us were talking about, and we decided last week we should go up there to do a couple of things. Number one, not the least of which, demonstrate and show President Trump that there are members in Congress that still stand behind him. We all represent between us millions of people. Those people stand behind him, and he's in a hostile environment. The judge is biased against him. We think the jury pool is probably biased against him. Even the court administrators seem biased. We wanted to actually buoy him up if we could. The second thing is we were trying to actually send a signal to our colleagues here that we should be doing something here because, we were given the purse strings. And I introduced legislation, the Willis Act, the Bragg Act, the Alvin Act. Why? Because you have to start reining in prosecutors so they don't get federal money to abuse it for political purposes. And we don't have enough of our colleagues doing that. We wanted to show President Trump and the American people that there are members of Congress who are willing to do that and are fighting for him. So I think it was a good exercise. And I'll just have to tell you, as a former trial lawyer myself, I love to get into a good trial, and I wanted to see the trial. So that's a stated bonus. There
you go. Okay, cool. Little tourism for you, legal tourism. Hey, let's move to now Merrick Garland. As I understand it, the Oversight and Judiciary Committees have been seeking the audio of Joe Biden's testimony to Robert Hur now for months. We've seen a transcript. A couple months ago, we got the transcript, and the transcript revealed that Joe Biden lied to the American people about meaningful events during that conversation. So it doesn't seem like much of a stretch to simply ask for the audio, but the Justice Department has been stonewalling you. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we could surmise what the rationale is. They kind of gave it away today when they said they mentioned political purposes. They're afraid. They're withholding it because of political purposes. They're afraid that when the American people hear what Special Counsel Hur described as an old man with a flawed memory and and sympathetic to a jury who committed these crimes. Basically, that's what it is. They don't want the American public, in my opinion, to see how fragile Joe Biden is, how fragile his memory is, how inarticulate and incapable of actually going forward he is, because it would be much more demonstrable through an oral testimony than it is going to be through a written transcript.
But is it legitimate, the legal basis by which they're claiming executive privilege over this? When I think of executive privilege for the president, I usually think it's deliberative, that the whole point of executive privilege is to guarantee that you can talk about things with your advisors and not have every single, even bad idea go public. You can figure out how to get to the best idea. That's not what this is. This is Biden's testimony to the Justice Department that's already been released in a transcript form. Why would he claim executive privilege on the audio?
Well, there's no basis for it. I mean, you're exactly right. There is no basis for it. It's a political basis. It's a political calculation. That's my point. What the reality is, when you're right, when you have privilege, it's designed to protect the type of communication that you expect presidents to be able to have with all of their advisors and their top officials. And this is even weaker. So they claim that President Trump couldn't declare privilege on a lot of these things that he declared executive privilege. But what you're seeing here is nothing that even compares to where President Trump was talking about substantive, performance-based presidential duties. What's happening here is this is a guy, and he's talking about did you have classified documents you weren't supposed to have? Did you reveal those classified documents to your biographer? Did you know it at the time? Those types of things. They don't want that out, and there's no basis for the privilege. That's the point that you're making, and I'm agreeing with you. That is the point here. There is no basis for their claim, and they're just trying to delay it, I think.
Well, Attorney General Merrick Garland claimed today that the reason that they refused to release the audio and the reason he supposedly requested that Biden invoke executive privilege is that because it would, quote, harm our ability in the future to pursue sensitive investigations. Now, to me, that doesn't hold any water because they've already, again, released the transcript, unless, of course, they're lying about the contents of the audio, that the transcript doesn't actually reflect the audio. Then we got a whole other scandal on our hands. But again, how would releasing an audio version of the thing that's already been written in text form in public imperil future investigations?
Well, the short answer is it wouldn't. It is a specious argument, fallacious argument. It's an argument that it will not be sustained in any kind of court that is actually applying the law regarding executive privilege. There is no executive privilege here. It's just nutty.
So can Congress challenge this executive privilege claim in court? Or will that be something Congress does?
Yeah, I think like tonight we're going to do an oversight. Judiciary's already held Merrick Garland in contempt. We're going to hold him in contempt. We're going to try to enforce it, and then part and parcel to that, in my opinion, and I haven't received official okie dokie on this, but my position is that we should be then taking the Biden administration to court on the really hokey executive privilege that they claim.
Yeah, and they're already giving you a rationale for why they're blocking it. As you noted, they said that they're stopping this from going public because of the political damage it can do to Biden, which suggests that the courts should move quickly on this in light of them being plain spoken about why they're hiding it from us in the first place.
Yeah, and I think we've changed the rules. I do not believe that the Speaker of the House has to have full authority through a vote of the House to bring that lawsuit. I believe he can go forward. But in any event, we need to do a resolution immediately after tonight's proceedings and be ready next week to bring a resolution to authorize a lawsuit against the Biden administration. That's my opinion.
I hope it happens. Congressman Andy Biggs, thank you very much. You have a busy day. We're glad you spent some time with us. Thank you, sir, as always.
Absolutely.
Biden decided to block the release of the audio of his interview with the special counsel. And obviously the letter from the White House counsel laid out the reasons about the concerns of being used for political purposes. But that seems to imply that the White House is concerned that these could be politically damaging. So why not just release them, especially with this White House's commitment to transparency?
Well, for one, the transcripts, as you all know, is already out there. I think the second piece of this, too, to note is that the Attorney General made it clear that law enforcement files like these need to be protected. And so the president made his determination at the request of the Attorney General. So just want to make that second point that I made really clear. The Department of Justice and the White House Counsel's office have provided extensive written letters, as you all know. I'm sure some of you have read this on this issue. And like I said, that you have seen. And so when it comes to anything further or any specifics, obviously I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House Counsel's office.
Okay, so the White House, in so many words today, again, saying, yeah, this would be bad for Biden politically, so we're not releasing it. Executive privilege. It's so obvious what's happening. I hope Andy Biggs succeeds. I hope they get a lawsuit going and they can get this in front of the courts. Sprint. Joe is in Woodbridge, line 2. Joe, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese show.
Vince, great show as usual.
Thank you.
Hey, you know what I'd like to see? In closing arguments, I'd like to see Trump's attorney walk over to the jury and look them in the eye and say, you know what, the prosecution is trying to convince you that a legal non-disclosure agreement is election interference. And then I'd like him to walk over to the prosecution's desk and laugh in their faces and say, that is absolutely ridiculous. And then I'd like him to walk back over to the jury and say, let me give you 4 clear examples of election interference where no charges were brought. And then I'd like him to explain how Hillary Clinton bleach-bitted 20,000 emails so the Department of Justice couldn't get them. And then I'd like him to explain how her and her team destroyed iPhones and a laptop.
Yes.
So the Justice Department couldn't get them. And then I'd like him to say the Democratic National Committee created a dirty dossier against their political opponent. And then I'd like him to say 50 former and current intel officers created a document saying the Hunter laptop was Russian interference and no charges were brought on election interference.
You know, Joe, it sounds like you've been following the details, which is fantastic. That's a dream. I really hope something like that could pop up in the court. And you're right. It should start exactly there, that Democrats are trying to advance a conspiracy theory that Trump stole the 2016 election, that he stole it. In fact, Nancy Pelosi said that again this week. Man, if only some truth could break through to that courtroom, because we've gotten a lot of lies from Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. Stay with us. Coming up, Todd Bensman. Good afternoon to you. 5:35 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL.
The Deputy Director of ICE is telling us that 2 Jordanian nationals are in removal proceedings now after posing as Amazon delivery drivers to crash the gates at Quantico. Does the White House think this might have been a failed terrorist attack?
So going to be really mindful. These 2 Jordanians that you're speaking of remain in ICE custody, and given that it is an active law enforcement matter, so I would have to refer you to ICE. I just can't dive into this because, again, there's a law enforcement. This is a law enforcement matter.
It's an active law enforcement matter. The words out of the White House today. Cringe saying that in light of the fact that there were 2 men, illegal immigrants, Jordanian nationals, attempting to drive a box truck onto Marine Corps Base Quantico 2 Fridays ago, stopped finally as vehicle blocking devices came up out of the earth as the Marines, the guards at the gate, attempted to stop them from getting on the base. But we still don't know so much. There are reports that at least one of them was on a terror watch list. For more on this, I want to bring in a man who's been on the subject. He also testified before Congress today, so we have a lot to get to. Todd Bensman from the Center for Immigration Studies. Sir, good to have you back with us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
This story at Quantico is a huge deal, and as you wrote in the New York Post this week, the media has been ignoring it. Why? What's going on here?
Well, because if this turns out to be a first ever terror attack by a border crossing Middle Easterner, that's going to potentially impact the national election. That's a huge story. It's gonna work in the favor of Donald Trump and it's going to work heavily against Joe Biden if that's what this turns out to be. I think that's why the government is going to drag its feet on this for as long as it possibly can, hoping that we all forget about it. But I can promise you this, I'm not going to forget about it until I get some answers. And hopefully a lot of media people will join me, because it's, after all, a public interest story.
Yes. Well, in fact, the White House has an obligation to give us an update on what threats may or may not exist to the homeland in light of our nation's open borders. So they should not be allowed to just simply dance away with it's an ongoing investigation.
Absolutely not. There is lots of precedent for our government and our leaders to tell us when there's been an attempted terror attack, or that they're investigating something as an incident of terrorism, a terrorism incident. This would be, actually, the way they're handling this, a very rare occasion where they won't even characterize it. And that tells me that it probably was a terror attack.
I know in your New York Post column, you raised a bunch of really important questions, some of which I shared on the air when I read it, including what was in that truck, what kind of weapons or explosives could have been in that truck, what were they carrying, why were they trying to get on the base, and also it is the fact that they are Jordanian nationals. To what extent does that raise red flags for you? And also the fact that at least one of them, according to the Potomac local news, was on the terror watch list.
There's just so much here. For one thing, yes, we need to know what was in that truck. What's the big deal? Tell us what was in that truck. Was there explosives? The truck itself could have been a weapon. Vehicles that size are used all the time. ISIS and Al-Qaeda propaganda routinely, put out there that you should rent a truck and kill people with it. We have the attack in Nice. We had a New York City attack a few years ago that horribly mangled a whole bunch of innocent victims on a bike trail. So it's just help us out here, folks.
Yeah.
Rule this out. Tell us all about it. And also, listen, if these two guys cross the border, one of them already on the terror watch list, what are they doing out? What are their circumstances? How do somebody on a terror watch list get released? I've written recently about a spate of accidental releases into the United States of border crossing immigrants who were on the terror watch list, and they had to do these frantic manhunts all across the nation to round them back up before they did something. There's at least 8 of them that I can count. I'm calling for congressional intervention on that. These accidental releases, I'm calling for, that this be declared its own separate national security threat. Accidental releases of immigrant terror watch listed people. Was this one of them? One of the questions I'm asking in the New York Post. Hopefully we'll get answers.
Yeah, I hope so too. All right, let me move as we await answers on that important story. I'm going to move to your testimony today. You were testifying before Congress today on the issue of Chinese nationals who've been pouring into our country by way of our open southern border. Here is a little bit of audio of your testimony today. This is Todd Bensman before Congress. Take a listen.
As if quick releases after border crossings were not golden ticket enough, the Biden administration gifted the Chinese intelligence an especially sparkling new policy. Washington ordered Border Patrol to reduce the number of interview questions for incoming Chinese nationals from 40 to just 5, the Daily Caller has reported. Why? To move them into the country even faster, including those who tossed their identity documents and might as well have given their names as Mickey Mouse.
Okay, so super important issue. We have lots of Chinese nationals who have come across the border. What's the estimate in terms of how many have come into our country, Todd?
Well, at least 50,000 are logged as Border Patrol apprehensions in 36 months. That is not including Chinese, another 20,000 who came in under CBP 1, paroled in, allowed into the country under these kind of escorted entry permits over the land bridges. It's another 20,000. And that is just a U.S. record. We have never had anything close to numbers like that from China. We've always had a little bit here and there, twosies and threesies, onesies and that sort of thing, but nothing like this. And it was a legitimate issue to raise for public debate. Why don't we talk about this?
Yeah, and as you pointed out in the audio I just played, the Biden administration has made it easier to be a Chinese foreign national to come into our country by limiting the number of questions we ask them?
Yes. I mean, this is just common sense. The prior administration, the Trump administration, was worried about Chinese espionage because it's just a normal thing to worry about, and put together a more robust vetting process at the border for agents to bring them into a cell or a holding area and find out who they are. And they put together these 40 questions, and the Biden administration came in and got rid of them all. And so that they can be released within 48 hours into anywhere in the country. And I made the joke about, the Mickey Mouse, because, huge numbers of these Chinese, as soon as they cross into the United States, they drop and destroy their passports and their identity cards. And I showed them during the hearing today. I brought a Chinese passport and a bunch of their ID cards that they destroyed and recovered in San Diego County to just demonstrate that, we don't know who these people are. They're ripping up their IDs. What's that all about? It's about asylum fraud and maybe more.
And then they're not leaving the United States. China, as I understand it, refuses to take them back, and I'm guessing the Biden administration doesn't undertake much of an effort to send them back.
No, I mean, China's what's called a recalcitrant country. They won't take their people back. Trump, I believe, was in the middle of a long process to force recalcitrant countries like China through diplomatic muscle and economic leverage to make these recalcitrant countries take their people back so that we could do more deportations. Clearly, the Biden administration is doing nothing whatsoever to require recalcitrant countries to change their tune. And so, yeah, that's the way it is now. But I think if Trump were to win, he would find ways to require the Chinese to take their people back.
Okay,
so they're here.
Yeah, they're definitely here. So, how were you received today by the members of Congress? What was the committee you were testifying in front of?
It was the subcommittee on oversight, investigations, and accountability. I'm not sure if I got those in the right order.
Okay, but how were you received by the Republicans and the Democrats on the committee today?
I think I don't think the Democrats are ever going to receive someone like me all that well. I'm a kind of a truth teller on this stuff. And, Republicans, of course, were friendly and the Democrats weren't.
But why would they be hostile? It's like so insane to me. I guess the answer is that they're in favor of this, that unfortunately. But under normal circumstances, you would think American lawmakers would be totally on your side and getting to the bottom of why we're being invaded by foreigners illegally.
Right. I mean, listen, I think I cited fairly U.S. intelligence assessments by Biden's own DHS and the Office of the National Director of Intelligence. They've been putting out public assessments on the Chinese espionage threat in the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. And there it all is, man. They're laying it out. And I just default to our intelligence community people, and they're the experts. They're the professionals. I believe them. Why wouldn't you believe them?
Sure. Now, I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did one of the Democrats accuse you of being bigoted or something today? Did that happen?
Yes, that did happen. One of their narratives is that the Democrats on this issue want to cast objections to mass Chinese immigration as racist, as something that white nationalists are doing, and I think it was Ramirez called me an anti-Semite, said that I was white nationalist anti-Semite based on tweets that I put out. And, I had to point out, look, lady, I'm Jewish. We're not down with anti-Semitism or white nationalism. We Jews just don't go that way.
I would think not. So wait a second. So you're anti-Semitic because you're concerned about Chinese illegal immigration? That makes you anti-Semitic? Does she understand what any of these terms mean?
I'm not sure what she was trying to do. I think she was just trying to discredit me because, if you can discredit the other side as being a racist, you kind of, or, anti-Semitic or, anti-Chinese or something.
Yeah.
That it sort of does their job for them of, having to argue their points.
So if they're going to make,
they don't want to argue on facts. They want to just, throw out stuff like that, which just is a kind of a conversation killer.
So if they're going to make ridiculous assumptions about you, why don't you make reasoned assumptions about them? Why are they so comfortable with Chinese foreign nationals pouring into our country this way?
I will never know. I just absolutely don't know. There's an ideology at work over there on that side. That's on the very far left side of the spectrum. And, that lady is kind of kooky. We all saw it. She's, there's a bunch of kooky ones over there on that side. And there's probably some kooky ones on the right side as well. But those ones definitely qualify over there. So, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if there's I think that they just look at it as a partisan issue that matters a lot for who holds power after November.
Yeah.
That's what they care about. And so the best way to knock that out in their mind is to just say, well, whoever's talking about this espionage stuff, never mind that it's the Department of Homeland Security or the ODNI.
Yes.
They're racist, and so that puts an end to that, right?
Yeah. At the very least, they don't want to be blamed for the chaos. At the very worst, they're aiding and abetting it for nefarious purposes, and I hate that. Not Congressman, not yet at least. Todd Bensman, good to talk to you, sir. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, thank you.
Nice to chat as always. Todd Bensman and Center for Immigration Studies are so great and all over all these important issues. It's deeply reasonable. This is amazing. You're an anti-Semite because I think Chinese foreign nationals shouldn't pour into our country illegally. I'm Jewish. What are you even talking about? Doesn't matter. How do these people even get elected? Those elections must be rigged. To be that stupid. Well, Kamala Harris is still a ridiculous human being saying ridiculous things. Have you noticed how often the Biden administration has lied to you about inflation lately? Actually, the entire administration, they've lied about this. Today at an event, Kamala Harris saying the reason they passed the Inflation Reduction Act was so that they could drop trillions of dollars on the streets of America. Oh, yeah, that'll reduce inflation. Listen to this.
The president and I, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Act, we are dropping trillions of dollars on the streets of America right now.
What? So that's not going to reduce inflation. That's going to increase inflation. That's a very basic thing. We've now have TV hosts laughing in the face of Biden officials who claim that it was 9% inflation when Biden took office. Here's Sandra Smith yesterday on Fox. Listen to this.
Robert, what was inflation when Biden took office?
I'll
tell you if you don't know.
9-10%.
No. Come on.
But more importantly,
All right.
it's 3% now, so it's down by two-thirds.
I apologize. I put you on the spot there. It was 1.4%, and that is fact.
Oh, don't apologize. You had him dead to rights. This happened again today. Neil Cavuto had Jared Bernstein on with him, and they went round and round for literally 3 minutes while Bernstein kept on being like, it was, the president was, 9% was like, Cavuto, to his credit, was just like, will you stop it? That's not what I asked you. Why are you just as bad as he is? You just keep lying. That's all they do. That's all they do. Hey, stay with us. I'll bring you updates as we get them on what's going on with this Quantico thing. I think it's super important, and you've got to know what's happening there. We'll share them with you. The great one, Mark Levin, is up next right here on the legendary WMAL. Back with you tomorrow.